My name is Arthur Ejiofor, and with me to discuss this is
Joy Ugben. It is a program that discusses various national and international matters.
A Nigerian should be able to live and work in a hospitable and safe environment in the north or south or east or west of Nigeria.
You cannot have a country where politicians do things and get away with them and expect that the citizens will do otherwise.
Daily Communion for the love of God and neighbor.
Hello there, and welcome to the premier program on the Catholic Television of Nigeria, the Daily Communion. The Daily Communion is a breakfast show showing daily on this station. We are reaching you from the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, Nigeria. It represents the coming together of people to discuss the matters that are of mutual concern in the society. My name is Arthur Ejiofor, and with me to discuss this is
Joy Ugben. It's a program that discusses various national and international matters, daily affirmation, talk shows, commentary, media headlines, commentary from the Vatican, special appearances, and educational content. This program would bridge the gap between faith and contemporary life.
our guests are Reverend Father Patrick Alumuku, the Director of Social Communications Department of the Catholic Archdiocese of Abuja. He's also the Director of the Catholic Television of Nigeria, and Mr. Emmanuel Odu, the Pioneer General Manager of the Catholic Television of Nigeria, and currently the Deputy Director of the Catholic Television of Nigeria. Gentlemen, you are welcome.
So, Father, I'll begin with you right away. Catholic Television of Nigeria. What's the story? What inspired you?
Well, it's a long story. We should start by saying that the inspiration came to us through then Archbishop John Onaiyekan, later Cardinal. At the point when he invited us to start the Catholic Television, he was still the Archbishop of Abuja and was an Archbishop. So it was in 2009. At that time, the founder of the AIT, Chief Raymond Dokwesi, had begun a project called DASAD, at which he had hoped, would be a continental project. It would run concurrently with DSTV or MultiChoice, and he was hoping in Nigeria he would have a better market. And his idea was to have about 130, 150 channels on the bouquet. And he was Catholic and also had hoped that a Catholic channel would be among the many channels on DASAT. And so he wrote a letter to the then Archbishop of Abuja, Archbishop John Onaiyekan, asking him if he would have a Catholic channel on the DASAT bouquet. So what the Cardinal did was he called me and called Father George Ehuzani, because George Ehuzani was a parish priest then in Asokoro, and the AIT station was actually under his parish in Asokoro. So he brought a letter from Dokwesi to the Archbishop, and the Bishop called me and said, okay, explain what this letter is about. So he said, this is what Dokwesi wanted. And the Archbishop Onaiyekan then said to me, well, I want you to go and start the Catholic Television. With that letter. Literally, that is how it started. And I was quite pleased at that because, we priests are like the military. You know, your superior tells you to do a thing, therefore you must joyfully go about it. And we went out joyfully with that command to start the Catholic television. Basically, that's where it started. Then we began to say, so what do we do? I'd come down to meet Mr. Odu, whom we were working together with the Good Shepherd at that time. And I said to him, Mr. Odu, so what do we do? And we agreed we were going to form a national committee for the Catholic Television Project. It was that committee that got the name the Catholic Television of Nigeria, because there was no other television initiative in Nigeria at that moment in the entire country. So when you hear it today, it will sound as if, you know, we wanted to take the name by force, but it was the members who actually came from all over the country, from Lagos, from Port Harcourt, from Benin, from Calabar, from Enugu, from Kaduna, from Jos, and then the Catholics who worked in television in Abuja, who came together and chose the name that we shall be known as the Catholic Television of Nigeria. And that's basically where it began.
So how has it been? The journey so far, how has it been?
Oh, the journey so far has been quite interesting, I must say. Not to say challenging. It's been quite interesting because we picked it up from then. The truth is that we called for 3 meetings, as I said. These 3 meetings went on every month. It was from June 2009, July 2009, I think August 2009, once a month. And people flew in from Lagos, from Calabar, from Port Harcourt, from Enugu. People came in from Jos and Kaduna and met us here. They paid their airfare, they paid for their accommodation, they paid for their feeding for 2, 3, 4 days of meetings. We set up committees. About 12 committees were set up for the running of Catholic television. And all of them were going to help facilitate the success of these committees. But at the end of the second meeting, they raised an issue regarding the sustainability of what we had begun. And they said, Father, it's a wonderful project. We are so happy to be involved in this, and we come so joyfully from our various destinations. But for sustainability, if this is going to continue, if this program and this project and our committee is going to work, we think that the church must find a way to subsidize our transport or our accommodation or our feeding. And my consultation then with the leadership of the diocese at the time came out with a negative result. There was nothing that could be done. And so at the end of the second meeting, they were ready to come for a third meeting by themselves. And when they came, they wanted the positive result. You know, when they couldn't get it, the whole thing fizzled out. Everybody went back home and they said, we cannot continue. So I go back to the office at the end of that meeting, and I sat down again with Mr. Odu, and I said, okay, Mr. Odu, what do we do? If we leave this matter at this point, you know, Catholic television is dead. And that will be a burial ground in our office. So what do we do? And we came up together with the idea that we must keep this dream alive. We must get back to Dokpesi, who began this in the first place, and ask him if he could help us start a 15-minute program on the AIT. Why 15 minutes? Why not a 30-minute program? Why not a 1-hour program? Because we didn't have a studio, we didn't have a video camera, We didn't have a microphone, neither did we have any form of funding.
That's actually you started from scratch. You didn't have.
That's right.
There was no
Zero. Absolutely.
So we would like to hear from Mr. Odu. What was your experience working with Father Alomoku from start to this point?
Well, as you heard from the director, the excitement was there at the beginning, nationally. There was a dearth on air of anything that will help change the deterioration in the moral fiber of the country. And most Catholics, being good Christians, they wanted to be on air so we can correct some of these ills. So there was excitement. That's why you hear Father Paji talking about people coming from different parts of it. And really they were here. But when finally he called me, after, as he rightly told you, there was nobody to fund travels, accommodation, feeding, keeping people here and all that stuff. And they started fizzling away. And he called me and said, look, we cannot fail. We shouldn't allow this dream to fail. Now, it was a shock to me. It was weird to me. Why? Because I had spent about some 30 years in broadcasting. Broadcasting anywhere in the world is an expensive venture. And I asked Father, I said, do you know what we're talking about? This is not radio. This is television. With all the gamut of equipment, personnel, office accommodations, all studios. But he said, we can do it. That's why we started the AIT 15-minute program. Now, after telling the director my fears, my concerns, he said we can do it, but let us start a program. Now, Abuja was a new beginning when we started in 2010. In Lagos, I could easily walk into a studio, buy 5 hours for maybe 3,000 naira, 5,000 naira. But in Abuja, to record 5 minutes, 1 hour, they would ask you to pay 10, 20, 30, 50,000 naira. And that was a pain to me. There was nowhere to get this money. And so we kept on going from parish to parish, individual to individual to get some money. Luckily enough, Chidokwesi did not ask us to pay money for airtime. Now we had to look for places to produce this 15 minutes. So we sat down, work on the montage, what begins the program. Sat down, I sketched a little things, and I had a colleague, Charles, with me, and we worked out a montage. And the priests in Abuja and around the country were very interested in coming on board. I have a list of priests that came from, name the diocese. They came here on their own. And this 15-minute program, they just had about some 9 minutes of this reflection on some issues. And they were coming, and that is how that program started on the first day of January 2010. I insisted that Father agreed that we should start with the Archbishop, then Archbishop Onaiko. He was the first person that went on air on our program, A Light for the Nation, on the 1st of January 2010. And greeted everybody, wished everybody New Year, and gave us a New Year message. From then, priests started coming in. It became a daily thing. And I'm happy to announce that it has not failed, not one day. All through, even when we passed through COVID in 2020, that program did not fail. But you discover that priests that were coming in, driving in, flying in, also like Father is saying, you know, you can't cope with the finances of the transportation, the feeding, the accommodation in Abuja. So they started also fizzling away. So we got stuck with priests in Abuja, and those priests outside Abuja diocese who could afford to come to stay with this program, A Light to the Nation.
I want to pick up from there. A Light for the Nation generated a lot of excitement. It was unimaginable because at that point we were getting about 5,000 to 10,000 messages and emails, people just calling us from the nooks and crannies of Nigeria to say, oh, how excited we are that the Catholic Church is on television. You know, where one said, where have you been? Why are you coming on just now? Because if you recall, up to that point, the NTA and other television stations, national television stations in Nigeria, used to have on Sundays programs run by religious organizations. Pastor, open pastor, open pastor, open pastor, open pastor. You know, there was no Catholic, not one single Catholic program, you know, on national television. There were a few places where NTA was running half an hour program for Christian half hours, you know, here and there. But there was no national program of Catholic content. So when this came on board, people were extremely excited. There were places I was hearing of for the very first time in the creeks of Nigeria, in some parts of Sokoto and Maiduguri, in some parts of Lagos and Oshun and Ogun and all parts of Nigeria. In the Middle Belt, people were calling and writing. And so we thought, wow, this little effort that we're making is generating so much interest, and that's actually what got us hooked onto this. If this is so, and that if we are helping to strengthen the faith of some of our members, then we must as well make the sacrifice and go on. So we went on with all those challenges. We remember, we had no studio. We had no camera. We had no microphone.
You remember, because of this scenario of nothing,
Yes.
with my fears and concerns of starting a TV operation, let's not call it a station, an operation, without anything. That's why, if you remember, that same 2010, in September, there was this Catholic Bishops' Conference in Ijebu-Ode. And Father said, let's go there and present this to the Catholic bishops. So we went to Ijebu-Ode, did a whole write-up, and like Father started at the beginning, we were thinking it wasn't an Abuja issue. We're thinking of a national Catholic television with inputs from different ecclesiastical provinces in the country. And so we went to Ijebu-Ode, and when we presented, when I was there, Bishop Badejo, the representative of, I think, from Cameroon also was with us.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
And we presented this and gave to each of the bishops our presentation from the origin, you know, the inspiration to the strategy and everything, from the inputs, productions from different areas, content-wise, and financial sustainability and all that stuff. And we came back very happy. Why? Because at the end of the plenary, we received this blessing from the bishops at that plenary in September 2010. They even asked us to come to the dioceses and come and create awareness about this new project. So we came back rejoicing, what I really remember, and held a meeting here, got our team, divided ourselves into dioceses, you do this 2, 3, go to this diocese, you know this. Myself and Father went to Calabar, others went to Lagos, Kaduna, and the rest. You know, because they say, come and create awareness, and also see if you can raise some funds for this great project. When we came back and then we went out, we didn't get what we thought we could get. to sustain financially, because with television, you must have a financial base. There are no two ways about it. There must be some financial support coming from somewhere. So when we came back, I said, Father, let us start some kind of a fundraising. So Father, I think we went to the Archbishop and they did, and they discussed, and the Archbishop agreed that we can have a fundraising dinner using his, I think his name was.
I was going to come to that. How you're able to sustain a television station, just like you said that a television station is an expensive venture.
Very expensive.
But before I get to that, before we talk about the sustainability of a television station, I would like Father to tell us what has been the collaborations from other dioceses with this Catholic television.
Well, the project was actually started, as we already mentioned, with people from all over the country. But as you heard Mr. Odu clearly mention, when we went out, we didn't seem to get the support and the collaboration that we thought we would get. So we got back to Abuja and discussed with then Archbishop Onayekon, who had his own experience with doing national projects. At the time he was experiencing difficulty with support for Veritas University, which was in Port Harcourt, and trying to raise money for it to start building its permanent site here in Abuja. And so he thought, well, if we are going to have problems by not getting the support of the other dioceses because of their own projects, let Abuja do what it can for Catholic television. And that is how we got Abuja more involved in the project of Catholic television. I can assure you that by this year, a lot of awareness has been created, and there's a little more collaboration. I don't think I'll be going too far to say that when the bishops of the provinces of Abuja and Jos and Kaduna met in Jos just 2 weeks ago, they declared their support for Catholic television. And 2 of the archbishops called me to say so, and to say from now onwards they want to support Catholic television. Among the things they want to do is to have at least a collection once a year to support the work, and also if they are able to do other things. But one of the most interesting things that they said now was that they wanted to have a studio opened in every diocese where possible, so that they will be able to send us information about activities and news of their dioceses or archdioceses, onto Catholic television. And they haven't realized that we are moving gradually onto the multi-choice platform this year. They were very willing to do this. So I can fast track that and say, this is where we are now in terms of collaboration. In the beginning was tough, but I'm seeing a brighter future as we move forward.
The beginning was tough. There were so many discouragements. But what kept you people going? Because I see that there is a gap in between. What kept you going?
Well, the truth is that we saw that there was a need for this medium in the church. We saw TB Joshua doing his things on TB Joshua. That was something churchy. People were following. We saw the Pentecostals doing television here and there. We are actually in the era of television, of video. There is a church expert in communications, who say that the church has gone from the era of writing and of writing books to the area of video, and that video production and passing the message of Jesus through video and through television is the new way, to communicate the message of Christ. And so we were and still are fairly convinced that this is a medium that the church needs. So we continued. And I can tell you that the staff of Catholic Television and their resilience is what kept us going. Because in all the difficulties and challenges, and maybe we can talk about that, they never gave up. They, through the thick and thin of this situation, they remained with us and continue to work with us. And that, for me, the success of this enterprise is actually the people who have worked with us. They kept faith with us. They kept faith with our pleadings for them to remain faithful. And together we walked along, And as I say, if you want to walk fast, go alone. But you want to go far, walk with people. These people continued working with us. That's why we've come this far.
Father, I know there's so much you have to say to us today, but we have to go on a quick break right now, and we'll be back to continue this discussion. Stay with us.
We will be right back. Please stay tuned.
Okay, Mr. Odu, I'm going to ask you about, we talked about sustainability of a station, a television station, and you said it's an expensive venture. How do we hope, how are we looking at the future of this station? Knowing that the use of the social media is another way of not only spreading, but also of funding. How is Catholic Television using the social media as a tool to reach out to the audience?
Yeah, I can tell you that, as far as that, we've been growing from the nothing to something. And I'm happy he brought up the issue of the resilience of staff, who kept on going, even on an empty stomach, in a country like ours. But we have established a unit over the years, the ICT unit, with a mandate to, one, get content, push content out, two, to see if we can raise funds. I'm trying to follow what you're driving at. So we're using the social media also. But we have agencies around the world who are interested in organizations not really preaching God or how to pray, but organizations that are going to help humanity, organizations that are going to correct the ills of society, bring God to man and man to God, and help family values and create a society. That is why we have it in our vision, the love of God and love of neighbor, So that love of neighbor, some organizations around the world are interested in funding such projects. So occasionally we have such organizations helping out. But they have so many things on their hands. So Catholic Television is just 1 trillion of the things they're handling. Then within the country and within the church, we go to parishes and sell the idea. The church is late in communication. Others, like Father has mentioned, some other groups that are already on there, We are late, but luckily enough, we are coming to start where they have reached. So we're not starting from the beginning, we're starting where they have reached. And then we're going to Paris and telling them, look, there is no other way of doing what you want us to do than to go on air. Bring your funding so we can do what we know we can do. So yes, we are getting some funding through this parish awareness and fundraisings. We are getting in the Catholic Church, you have organizations, the Catholic Men Organization, the Catholic Women Organization, the Catholic Youth Organization, Charismatic and the rest. We are trying to reach them. And then you have groups like Kayan, who are the artists and entertainment and the rest. Catholic lawyers, Catholic bankers and all that stuff. Catholic politicians and all that stuff. We present this issue. Not just to them as Catholics. And I tell you one thing. But I also get about the feedback. My desk was filled up with feedbacks, when we started. And the feedback was not just from Catholics alone. Christians and also non-Christians who were, through that 15 minutes that we had on AIT, beginning to understand what the Catholics were saying. And in a relationship, to strengthen a relationship, you need to understand the other person. So through that reflections that we had daily, they now got to know, like all this Mary and Mariano and the rest. They started getting to know that. So both Catholics, Christians, and non-Christians are involved in this. So we're using ICT. We're also going around the parishes, creating awareness, and also fundraising, and then reaching international agencies to assist.
Okay. Though you already talked about non-Catholics being part of this, but the question I wanted to ask is, your programs, are they strictly for only Catholics?
No. This Catholic television is owned and is being managed by the High Fidelity Communications Limited. It's an organization.
Okay.
It is not Catholic Church that is managing it. There's an organization called the High Fidelity Communications Limited. It's registered, but the church is interested in what the High Fidelity Communications Limited is doing because of the objectives they have. That's why the Catholic Church is keen into this group to make sure that they achieve the goals.
Okay, that will take me to something, Father. I would like to ask you, with your wealth of experience and where you're coming from, having had a stint with the Vatican Communication or Vatican Radio, how are you able to train your staff? Because in television production, you need to have well-motivated, well-trained staff. So I'd like you to tell our viewers what this television station is doing in staff training and upgrading your staff to meet your international audience.
Well, I think that's a very good question indeed, because right from the beginning of our team, we started thinking about training. And the first sets of people we asked to come and help train us were organizations abroad who had helped the Catholic Church in television production. And there's an Italian group that I fell back onto that came in here to train us. And they did a very fine training when we were still in the offices in Garki, Area 2. And that was a very important moment for us to start production of programs. And I'm not going to go much into that because these guys came and did the training of our staff, and they were willing to work with us in the, moving forward. But I think that they discovered that we were not prepared to have a television station. The young man who was in charge said to me, his name is Paolo, he said to me, Father, I've never seen anybody begin television the way you are beginning it. You know, you usually put everything together and then you start. And so they pulled out literally because they just didn't believe in our dream.
Yeah.
They didn't believe in our dream. They didn't think it was possible. You know, the European way of doing things is that, you know, you want to start a thing like this, you would have put all your budget together. You would have said how much of equipment you need to buy, how much of accommodation and things, and then, you know, you would get funding.
Budget.
But you know, if you began that here, in most parts of Africa, you would never really get there. So, and I kept informing Paolo continually, including now that we're getting onto the multi-choice. I've informed him that we have not ended though. We didn't stop, and this is where we are now. And he gets so surprised. But 15 years afterwards, of course, out there, it would have taken them 1 or 2 years to do everything. It took us 15 years, but here we are on the level we were. So that was one training. We also have other training. The Aid to the Church in Need took our staff shortly after COVID to Ghana to train our staff, just our staff. And why Ghana? Because they felt, they were told that Nigeria was so unsafe that they couldn't come here to train us. And so they preferred to buy our ticket to Ghana, pay our accommodation and feeding in Ghana, for the training, for the workshop, which was very powerful, and flew us back to Abuja. It was at the end of that, I told them that actually the situation was not as bad as they thought. They couldn't get visas. They were not allowed, they were not even getting visas in Germany to leave and come to Nigeria. I said to them, no, you can get visas on arrival. I can get you visas on arrival. So the next year, I got them visas on arrival to Nigeria. Wow. And they came in here in the studios and trained our staff. And at this time, they got the Catholic Television of Nigeria to bring in for the very first time in history all the other Catholic television stations in Africa. And they came in here from Zambia, from Ghana, from Cameroon, from
Niger.
Yeah, from a number of other countries that came and used our studios here, and the training was for us and also for these other African groups, Catholic television stations. So and then internally we involved in ongoing training. This morning when you came, there was a meeting over there. That was a training program that was organized to update our staff. So it's an ongoing training, and I think it's something that we're going to pay a lot of attention to as we move forward, because the technology is changing all the time, and therefore you need to be abreast with what is happening and abreast with the equipment and abreast with softwares and applications that are available. So we are updating all the time.
Okay, you talked about multi-choice, GoTV multi-choice. Can you throw more light on the partnership or what it is? You didn't go deep into it.
Okay, we began transmissions with AIT. After this initial excitement we talked about earlier, after about a year or two, you know, this is a human factor. People started saying, well, but you're Catholic television. We were hoping that Catholic television would evolve into a television. Why are you still doing 15 minutes after 2 years, 3 years, you know? So we found that quite interesting. And they didn't know what we were going through. They didn't know the challenges we have shared with you here. That we didn't have equipment, we didn't have studios and so on and so forth. But at the same time, we were looking for ways to move on. So we were able to build a studio in Garki, a little studio, because after 9 months of production in a rented studio. That studio came down, and then we had to build our own studio. That is where there was a need for fundraising, as Mr. Odu mentioned earlier. So that fundraising helped us to build a little studio in Garki. And from there, we started growing. But we were going around parishes and talking about support to Catholic television. And at one point, we met a man who gave us equipment. He gave us cameras. He was going to, a Catholic who was going to start his own television. He said he couldn't start it, so he now donated them to us. Then we met another person in that same process who said, oh, I'm a Catholic. I have a platform onto which I will allow you to bring all the materials. We've now been doing television for 5 years. We were recording every church event at that point to put all your programs together and put it on the Trefoil network for 2 months, free of charge. That's 24 hours. And at the end of 2 months, if you feel that you want to continue, you have to pay. But if you don't want to continue, then you can just pull off. At the end of, when we got onto that platform, again, a new wave and level of excitement was found in this country. On the free-to-air, people were watching us all over the country as a Catholic television, you know, and beyond, because actually it was it's on the night ComSat and watched all over West Africa. So we were being watched all over. And at the end, people were calling us and say, oh, we're happy now, we have a Catholic television channel, 24-hour Catholic television channel. You know, we're happy you are there, you know. Now, at the end of 2 months, I called my staff, I said, 2 months have ended. These guys are asking us to pay a few millions or so, you know, put together. We need at least a few millions to be able to be on air. You know, can we afford it? We didn't have the money. And they said, no. Said, Father, it will be too shameful for us to pull out. And people will not understand. And they'll say the Catholic Church could not even afford to do, to run a television channel. That would be a shame on the Catholic Church. So let's just push and see if we can get people to support us to remain live. So we went on from there. We got onto the free-to-air platform, and then we went on until recently, when we sought to get onto multi-choice. And we sought a platform actually on DSTV, because after having done television for more than 10 years, we felt fairly confident that we could go on. Let me say that at this point, we had got some little help, just as Mr. Odu had said, from some organizations abroad, especially Missio and the Aid to the Church in Need, to buy equipment and to improve the studios that we had, mainly. Tomorrow, they will be here to come and see some of them will be here officially from Germany to come and see what we are doing, and so on. So when we felt a bit confident, we felt there was a need for us to request a place on DSTV, you know. So that has been on for the last 1 or 2 years, and DSTV requested, kind of responded positively. DSTV responded positively, saying we should just wait for when there will be a spectrum to put us on their platform. It has been very, very challenging. There are hundreds, if not thousands of channels that in Africa want to be on DSTV. So we waited for a year, and they told us it's difficult for them to expand the spectrum to get a channel on DSTV, but they can put us on GoTV for now. Okay. And then eventually, when there's a place, because they've been watching our channel for quite some time, and they know the quality of work we are doing. they can bring us onto the DSTV. So that's where we got onto to this point now of getting onto GoTV. We are quite happy because, like I say, the multi-choice is the Serie A of if it's football, it will be Division A, Division 1 level. So we are getting onto the Division 1 level to get onto multi-choice, even with GoTV. That's where we have got to at the moment, and we're quite happy with the collaboration that we are having with them. We've gone through the whole process of setting up equipment here, and we're linking up with them in Lagos, in South Africa, and all that is almost ready for us to get on board.
Congratulations on that feat.
Congratulations.
And I want to ask Mr. Odu, GoTV has been in existence since 2011. That's quite some time now, and they have over 75 channels. And then Catholic Television is coming on board 2005. Usually, yes, 2025. Yes, I beg your pardon. So we all have that television station that if we pick up our remote control, we'll browse through maybe 3 to 5 channels. Or there's this particular one that will say they have programs of interest. What is Catholic Television bringing to GoTV platform that is going to make Catholic Television that station that if I pick up my remote control, I will go to Catholic Television, or Catholic Television will be one of those 3 to 5 channels that I will browse through and be like, there are interesting programs there, or even recommend.
You see, Father has already told you the battle to get onto DSTV. It's tough to get yourself on an ace network like DSTV. We have experienced it. We know what is involved in it. Aside the content that you have to create, you have to have financial sustainability and all kinds of things. And when we got this window of GoTV, we believe we have what it takes. Because as you earlier asked me if our channel was a channel where you come to learn how to pray, it is not. We have so many things that attract people to Catholic Television. We started a program like Dialogue, because we discovered that, to have peace, people must sit down and talk. People must open up. I got to know you, got to know me. And so we started this program called Dialogue. And we're bringing in people from different faiths, different areas in life, and they sit down and open up and talk. At the end of it, they go out satisfied because I now know you and you know me. That will attract people there. We're talking about family values, which are getting dead. Because there's so much of influence coming from outside Africa to Africa, especially to Nigeria. And it is destroying the Generation X, like they call it now, the generation that is going to take over. So Catholic Television is trying to correct and to give answers to the many questions running through the minds of youth. Because they are there, hidden with those questions, and then going through the social media to get answers. Catholic Television will give you the answers to the questions running in the hearts of the youth. Family values are going to be there. The ills of society. We can't pretend that society is still as it used to be. There's a lot of deterioration, the battering of a moral the fiber of our society, which our programs have been tailored to correct, so that when you watch the program, you are seeing what I'm doing, is it right or wrong? From the programs, you can query it, you can ask questions, you can criticize. We give this opening. Plus, of course, teaching you how to be close to God. Because without being too close to God, you can't make it. So there are a lot of programs that are there, the family values, justice, for instance, for all. And I'm talking about justice for everybody, not just justice for the rich and the politicians, but justice for everybody. We have programs for that. We are trying to bring in lawyers. We have programs for the legal angles, where if you have problems, legal problems, you don't have the money to go and pay for this. But watching that program, you have some answers to the questions that these are the kind of things that we're having, and lots more. It's a gamut of how to live better life, a better society.
That's right.
That's what we're trying to build, and that is why the Catholic Church is interested in what high fidelity communication is doing, because of these areas, plus learning how to be close to your God. You have to be close to your God.
So Catholic Television is a preacher, is a teacher, but Catholic Television is bringing on board also lots of entertainment, genuine entertainment.
A lot of entertainment.
There's we're producing music. When we began the Catholic Television, we found that there was no Catholic video available online in Nigeria. Of course, you would find some people beating ogene somewhere and dancing,
And jumping from one rock to the
in the market or something like that. Some Catholics, songs, but nothing really serious. And we have some of the most beautiful Christian songs in the world. We are home to some of the most educating and fine Christian songs. And then we have a great artist that is now known all over the world from Nigeria, from Abuja, Dr. Jude Nnam, whose Christian music is loved all over the world. So we worked together with Jude Nnam to produce an album called The African Credo. Credo, I believe. I suggested that name to Jude Nnam. So we're going to produce an album called The African Credo. He accepted. By the time we produced this music, I think about 6-7 years ago, it went viral. And I can tell you, I've been to Ethiopia at a meeting, and at the end, when the cardinal came to say mass at the closing of the meeting, they were singing the African Credo there. I was wondering, I've been to Kenya and mass, and they were singing it. I have seen that the Sudanese have produced their own African Credo based on what we have done. They have things on video. If you go onto onto YouTube and find out the comments people are making on African Credo, is incredible. Some people say they thought this was an American group doing this music. They didn't know it was Nigerian. Some abroad are saying, I lost my faith, but I found my faith through this music. Yeah, you can go into the comments and find, and some say, I am not a Christian, but I love this music. Wow. That's only one. And there are 10 songs on that album. We did another album called We Are Church. And We Are Church, it's another music that we have produced. So people got to know us and to like us a lot through our music. And we intend to go on and to do music because it's bringing out the vivacity of the church. To put together a choir of about 500 people. When we did that, we were deliberate about what we were doing. When at the Nigerian Film and Music Festival, the Catholic Music and Film Festival in Enugu took place a few years ago, and Pete Edochie was the chairman of the group. We got 5 awards out of 8. Seven? Wow. Out of 7 national awards for the African Credo because of the music, for the quality, for the cinematography, for the audio, and so on and so forth, and as the best music. So those are kind of things that are going to captivate people who watch our channel. And what we do, we are doing professionally. We are not doing television by guesswork. We came in knowing what we want to have done, and now I can tell you that there is no better moment for Catholic television to have got onto this level of broadcasting, because with the possibility of artificial intelligence that can give us a lot more than we can imagine for quality of backdrops, for quality of videos when we ask for it, and when we do it and ask for support. I think, along with my team, that we could never have had a better moment to get onto television, because we're going to have a glossy television, we're going to have high definition television, with the support that we have of 4K cameras, supported by those who are supporting us with equipment. We have best quality. This is the kind of cameras that
The big television stations.
that Nollywood and the American Hollywood is using to produce their films. And these are the cameras that we have. And so the 4K cameras are the high quality cameras today that you can use in television. So the quality of picture, quality of sound, and the general content that we're bringing on board is one that I think will captivate our audience.
Wow, great viewers at home. We've come to the end of this wonderful discussion, and I hope you all enjoyed, and it was uplifting. So we do not go away. Stay back, stay put to your television, and enjoy the rest of the program.
You can also watch us on our social media handles that are being displayed on your screen at the moment. Why don't you go like and follow us? We'd like to hear from you. What do you think about our show? We'd like to get feedback from you. DM us and enjoy the rest of the day. I remain Joy Ugbem. Bye for now.
And I am Arthur Ejiofor.